Looking up to the reaction and response to fighting games having simple inputs online and reading the comment section have made me lose my mind because there are two extreme groups here. Either A, if you lose to someone with modern inputs, then you shouldn't be complaining and you're not as good as you think. Or, simple inputs have come to my house, beat me up, fighting games sucks, fighting games are ruined, they're not the same anymore and I'm not playing them. This video doesn't belong to either of these camps, so if that's what you're looking for, there are a ton of other videos on these platforms that you can check out, but if you want to have a meaningful conversation, well, grab something to drink and let's talk about it. Fighting games have always been hard. At least that is the stigma around them. That's how the vast majority of the casual gamers think of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why don't you like fighting games? That is
probably built for you.
the game genre that would, like, in theory, appeal to you the most.
Yeah, there's no story.
It's probably like the one type of video game that I've just never enjoyed playing. Like,
Why is that?
I think because like the difficulty curve is insanely high.
Well, believe it or not, these companies, they are business, right? They try to make money. And for that reason, when their games are looked upon as being a hard game, they fear it will drive away a lot of the mainstream players, it will drive away a lot of the casuals, right? And to combat this, they try to make games easier, sometimes by tackling the issue with the most direct approach, literally make everything about the game, the execution, the input requirements easier. This started since Street Fighter 4 and sometimes they went really far to a shocking degree with this.
I'm Seth Killian from Capcom here at Tokyo Game Show 2010. I'm going to show you a new feature of Marvel vs. Capcom 3. It's our simple mode, which is a great way for anybody that's new to fighting games to jump right in and figure out what it's all about. And can enable even Tokyo Game Show booth babes to take out seasoned players.
Doing a conscious effort to making fighting games easier pretty much started, like I said, with Street Fighter 4, and what they did there is that they made the inputs just a little bit more lenient, so you can have an easier time getting the moves to come out, so much so in fact that in Street Fighter 4 you could just get a DB motion by tapping down forward twice. Then we started getting one button auto combos, and finally we got one button specials and one button supers. Well, you might be wondering, well, Mura, what's new? Like, why are you telling us all of this now? Well, the time have finally come. We have a Street Fighter game, a mainline Street Fighter game, where you can do a Hadouken with a single button press. Street Fighter 6 comes with two different control schemes. The first one is appropriately named the Classic, and this is the traditional input method. You can do the fireball motion, DB motion, all of that old school goodness that you are used to and you love. But Street Fighter 6 also comes back with the digivolved version of the simple input, and they cleverly title it the modern inputs. On a surface level and at a first glance, modern controls seems like simple inputs. You will get a simplified version of your character, you have less moves, you can do your special moves by one buttons, yes, you can have access to some auto combos, one button super, all of the stuff that you are used to with simple controls. But once the community actually got their hands on the game and they starting testing it, seems like you actually are getting a lot more than that, because you get to have the special moves, the regular motion specials, well, you can still do them. The idea of a single button special is nothing new. It's been in games like Grand Blue Fantasy or DNF Duel, but typically these moves are either tied to a resource or a cooldown timer, something to stop the ability of spamming them. This does apply to Street Fighter V as well, and it is very relevant to me because I play one of the characters who have one button specials, and that is Cody. Cody have his V skill 1, and it does have significant drawbacks to limit you from being able to use it. Cody's V skill 1 is pretty much a meterless DB, it's fully invincible from frame 3, but the move does come with some significant drawbacks. Cody will inflict wide damage upon himself, and the move is slow enough for a DP that the opponent can try to hit you with an attack and be able to block in time if that attack have low enough recovery. The point here is that this move is clearly designed with it being a one button special in mind. It's balanced around that, right? And that is exactly my main concern with the modern controls in Street Fighter 6. You see, with modern controls, you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting the majority of your normals, you have access to your regular motion specials, so you can have the fireball game with a light, medium, heavy fireball, but you're also having the one button DB without any real significant drawbacks. In my opinion, you can't really change or remove motions from a fighting game without really thinking about how it will affect the core design of that game. To further explain what I mean, let's say that we have a Ryu versus Ed matchup. From this same distance, Ryu have to worry about Ed doing a dash up into grab. Maybe Ed will throw a heavy kick, maybe he will do an uncharged V-skill or a charged V-skill, maybe he will charge a Psycho Knuckle, and maybe Ed will jump. Having the mental strain of dealing with all of this is what is called the mental stack. You have to be focused to deal with all of these elements, and that's why even the best players in the world will get jumped in on and they will not be able to anti-air. There is simply way too much to look for. There is always this assumption that the modern controls or simple controls are gonna only be used by absolute beginners, and that doesn't really have to be the case, right? They are available for everyone, and if modern controls proves to be a viable competitive control scheme, then we might have a problem. And for me, if you have at least a good enough amount of normals, or at least have the important ones, it will actually be viable. And for me, the idea that fighting games aren't popular simply because they're way too hard, I think that's total bullshit, right? Because you have games like Souls game, look at Elden Ring. Look at Elden Ring. That game sold over 16 million copies. And you know what? These games, they don't have an easy mode. None, right? Look, so that you don't get me wrong, I don't mind the idea of the games being easier or the game having accessibility options, right? I don't mind it. I played DNF and I enjoyed it to an extent. I played Grand Blue and I really liked it. I think that's totally fine. I just want to play the game the way it was intended to be experienced. If the game was designed from the ground up with simple controls designed to be easier, that's fine. If the game is designed to be challenging, that's also fine. I would like to play it the way it was designed initially. And that is pretty much it with today's video. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a comment. It helps the channel so much. I will be leaving a link to the Patreon, Discord, Twitter, and Twitch pages in the description below. Thank you so much for watching and stay safe.